and I can kind of argue either one way or the other. So if it gets a little lopsided, I'll kind of go the other way. But I'll let you guys kind of go around here, and I'll start with you, Shawn, since you've played the game. I mean, it's Street Fighter 2, so it's, you know, it's something most of us have played. But I'll start with you and just kind of talk about the pricing on that, what your thoughts are.
I mean, the way I see it is this, is like, could they have done it digitally? Sure, and they could have done it digitally only, and it probably would have been a little cheaper, but they went the physical route. And, you know, the way the Switch is set up, I think the physical and the digital have to be the same price, or there has to be some inclusion. There was something, I remember reading something about that. So is it worth the $40? I mean, to me, it's like saying, well, was Ocarina of Time 3D, you know, worth buying again on the 3DS? Of course it was. It's one of the greatest games in that genre. And to me, Street Fighter 2, you know, whatever incarnation you're playing, is one of the best fighting games in that genre. You could play Street Fighter 2 for a ridiculous amount of time. So yeah, I mean, I have, you know, if I have no problems with it being $40. I got a free copy from, you know, Nintendo to review. I still have the other copy because it was only digital. I still already have my other copy coming in. Like, and plus when you factor in things like Amazon and the Best Buy stuff, you know, you get 20% off. So I think my copy through Amazon was like $32. I mean, if you like fighting games and you like old fighting games with, you know, modern features like online, you know, the ability to switch the graphics, a couple new modes, like the new modes aren't great, but they're fun. They're little diversions. And yeah, I didn't expect to get the code for the game because I thought it was going to come through Capcom. So I was fully, you know, I had my copy purchased, you know, months ago. So to me, not a big deal, especially if you like Street Fighter. Plus, I mean, people are like, oh, I wish it was Street Fighter 5. And I'm like, I mean, that game had so many problems when it came out. Like, you would be paying $60. You don't know what you're getting. You don't, you know, I don't know. It's not a big deal to me, but I could see why some people would, you know, be sort of against it. Like, oh, it's a, you know, it's an old game or whatever, but it's also a great game. So
that and 5, I believe, was heavily funded by Sony. So I don't think it's going to be coming off the PS4 and PC kind of solid thing there for a while. But they also added, I thought, Violent Ken, so they have a new character in it. And then they also added actually a different mechanic that wasn't originally into. It was like guard breaking.
Yep.
Or something. And, so like it's almost a little bit new.
There's Evil Ryu as well.
Yeah.
So you have Evil Ryu, Demon Ken, and then Akuma, if you want to call him a new character. But yeah, I mean, one of the things that like nobody seems to talk about that I actually really dig is the fact that you could take you can use new graphics with old sound, or old graphics with new sound. There's like a big art book of stuff, and you could, like, over 150 pages, you can get nice and close if you like that sort of stuff. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of nice little additions to it, and it's arguably the greatest 2D fighter ever. So
how do you feel about the like Hadouken mode that it has? Do you feel like that's pretty gimmicky?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's so gimmicky, but it's, I mean, like, I still play it. I still mess around with it because there's actually a leveling system in it, and there's different difficulties. But yeah, I mean, it's super gimmicky. It's just like, it's like motion controls that were added to so many Wii games. But I mean, it is sort of fun. Like, you take the Joy-Cons and you go like this to throw a Hadouken. To do a Dragon Punch, you have like one here, and then you push one out. And then to do a Hurricane Kick, you swing them to the side. It is very gimmicky, but there's, you know, there's blocking, there's super attacks and stuff. It is very silly, but it's a nice little diversion. Like, better to have it than not to have it, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. Philip, what do you think about the pricing there, man?
It's hard for me to say because I haven't had a chance to check out any of the new modes, but I really kind of agree with Shawn. I think that Street Fighter 2 is a timeless game, and certain games just kind of deserve to stay, valued at a certain price or whatever. And so I think Street Fighter, even though I can't speak for the new modes, I still think that it is one of the greatest fighting games that has ever, graced this planet. And the fact that it's coming to the Switch, revamped with new modes. I mean, they're trying. It's going to have online. It has new things that you can, like what Shawn said, mix the sounds with the graphics and stuff. So I think that just by not playing it, I would pay the money for it as a Street Fighter fan. And I think that fighting games fans out there don't necessarily have a problem paying for a Street Fighter game at that price. I mean, we're pretty used to it by now, I think, especially if it's like a full-on, remaster of the game. So I'm okay with it.
Okay, very good, very good. So I think the price caught a lot of people off guard because they looked at the 360 version, which is $15, I think, and they're similar, right? They're not like they're different, but they're not like worlds different, right? I mean, it's not like a completely different game either way.
No, I mean they did the Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD, I think it was called. I thought it might have came out at 20, but I could be wrong.
Okay. Yeah, I just checked the shop now. It was like $14.99. It might have been 20 when it came out. So my first thought when I saw this, when we were playing at the DC event, we were playing the Switch, that was one of the booths set up. And I looked at it and I thought, okay, there's going to be a Nintendo rep there that, to be honestly with you guys, they don't know a lot. They were there with their fact sheets and talking about it. He at least kind of knew Street Fighter. He was like, yeah, I wouldn't expect this to be more than $20. And that's pretty much where I was with it too. I don't expect it to be more than $20. But it comes out, it's $40. They put it physically, that's fine, because I do know there's a higher distribution cost there. If you look at, say, I mean, which one was it? Puyo Puyo Tetris, where it was more expensive to bring it out physically. I get that. It costs money to print these things. It's not cheap. So I understand it there. I would have thought it might have been more like a $30 game personally. And that might have been the roof there. But honestly, if Capcom knows that they have fans that will pay $40 and it's their responsibility to put a game like that out and not lowball it because they can always drop the price later. I think it might be high for Street Fighter 2 only because I own it like 3 or 4 different ways. But if I'm a fan of Street Fighter, it's worth it to me because I'll get, 100 plus hours out of a $40 game, which is a great deal. I do think it's interesting, though, that they priced it at 40 because I looked at that Way of the Hado mode. Eurogamer did a thing on it. And then, of course, we've seen a lot leading up to it. And I noticed it looks like it's the Street Fighter either 4 or 5 engine. I mean, is that what it looks like, Sean?
Yeah, it's the character model for Ryu is from the Street Fighter 4. Okay,
it is. So it's their fighting engine for the most part, graphics wise, from either Street Fighter 4 or 5, somewhere in there, right? Like it's the engine that runs their fighting games for the most part.
I think so. I mean, the whole thing takes place in like a first-person perspective, and you actually don't move. The characters just sort of drop in. So it could be, but I'm not 100% sure.
Because my thought there was that they put a lot of development time into it, trying to see how well they could get their I want to say their fighting engine on there with the graphics that they run on their fighting game engine. Because I looked at it and it looks very similar to either 4 or 5. 4 or 5 look similar to me. I don't know if it's other people, but I look at it and I say, okay, 4 and 5, maybe they're upgraded some for the PS4, but they look like the same idea. And I looked at it and I said, I wonder if they spent time trying to port their engine over, realized that, yes, it'll work, but we need money back for this dev time. Why don't we put it in as a feature for the new Street Fighter 2 game coming out on the Switch? We'll collect some extra money for that. We know it works now, so we can look into the future, possibly bringing, I don't know, whenever they decide to release the next Street Fighter. When does Street Fighter 5 come out?
Street Fighter 5 came out last year, but I don't know how long like Sony has a stranglehold on that. I don't know if it's timed exclusive or completely exclusive. I think someone mentioned earlier that Sony actually helped fund it, so it would probably have to be like they could probably get around it with like a special version of it or whatnot.
It seems
the special version, though, they were very clear that they weren't going to be releasing any of those in like many talks because of how angry everyone was with the prior releases of the game. So I don't know what they're going to do with it. And the trick is, from what it sounds like, 5, they want to stick around for a while to try to like generate more of the esport hype with it on one title as opposed to just releasing constantly. And I mean, 4 had a really long lifespan anyway. So
okay.
5's probably going to be stuck where it is now, just expanding in those systems for a while before maybe we'd be seeing a one down the road like a 6 or something that then might come to other consoles. Who knows at that point, though?
Maybe it's future planning for them. Maybe they know now that their engine can run on it, and they're going to look towards it. Maybe whenever they do Street Fighter 6, even if it's like years down the road, they at least know it would run on the Switch. Because remember, Capcom was the company that came to Nintendo and said, "You need more RAM in this system, or we can't run our engines on it." And I feel like Street Fighter might have been one of those engines they're talking about. Also, the other one might have been the Resident Evil engine, because that is like heavily speculated and rumored that it's running on the Switch now as we speak in testing. So there's a couple things there. It's the $40 tag just seems a little high for me, but like I said, I can see how fans of Street Fighter will pay it and will enjoy it. So that's fine. And like you said, Sean, $32 if you have Amazon Prime or Best Buy's Gamer Club card. So that, like I said, it makes sense to a point. I probably won't buy it, but I have other stuff I'm interested in down the road.